as soon as the meeting is over. And so if this is your first time of attending the Access to Justice Board, I would like you to please introduce yourself in the chat. Please let us know your name, your preferred pronouns, and where you work, if that is important to you, and your whatever other information you would like the attendees at this meeting to know. Thank you. Now we have another important announcement we need to make. And that is the fact that our good friend and board member, Judge Laura Bradley, is going to be transitioning off the board this month. And the board is awarding her the Flame of Justice Award. Bonnie, do we have a digital representation of this, Bonnie? I wish we do. Judge Bradley has been on the board of Access to Justice Board before I got here. She did a lot to make me feel welcome. She did a lot to make me feel that I have a role to play. I have a voice to contribute to the conversation. And she did a lot to encourage many of us that joined later to feel welcome. Judge Bradley, you are an asset to this community. We love you, we cherish you, and we are so excited that you will continue to participate in the community advisory panel of the Access to Justice Board and in other areas. We are so grateful to you for all that you have done over the years to live the flame of justice. It's my honor on behalf of the board to present you this award. It will be coming in to you over this weekend. It's in the mail to you. I wish we are in person so that I can give you a hug, but I'm giving you a digital hug. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis, and thanks to all of you. It really has been my honor to serve for the past 6 years on this board. I think there's a reason that Washington is known as a leader in access to justice, which doesn't mean there isn't a lot more work to do. Of course there is, but I admire all of you. I will continue to be involved because I think, as Esperanza said earlier today so eloquently, you know, it's not a job, it's a passion. And just like she will be, I will be here for the long haul.
Thank you. Thank you. Board members, any other comments? All right. Thank you, Judge Bradley. We love you. And please, thank you so much. All right. We will go on to, we will transition to the WSBA TAXICAB update from Sal.
Thanks, Francis. I am the board's liaison to what's known as TAXICAB, which I'm all sure you are wondering what the heck does TAXICAB mean. An acronym that someone from WSBA must have worked long and hard to come up with to get TAXICAB, but it stands for Team Administering Xenial, got that right, Xenial Involvement with Court-Approved Boards. And if you're like, I'm just a simpleton, come up, I had no idea what the word Xenial meant. I thought maybe it was a made-up word, so I had to look it up. And it means that it's relating to or constituting hospitality between a guest and a host, which was news to me. So somehow that kind of fits in here. And I guess the sense is that WSBA chose that word because they are the host and we're the guest, which isn't quite a spot on term, but it'll give you some idea what I'm going to be talking about for the next few minutes. What this is that the WSBA, and you have this in your materials, actually has a policy on how it deals with court-appointed boards. It wants to revise that policy, wants to take a look at it. So it's asked for certain liaisons from boards to give some input into their decision-making process. And Francis kindly, or not so kindly, appointed me to serve on that board. And one thing I've made clear on my term, and we've had 4 meetings so far, I've always made it clear to WSBA, look, this is your policy. And just because you say that you can do certain things with boards doesn't mean that in fact you can do certain things with boards. It would be the same thing as if the ATJ board says, we're enacting a policy that requires WSBA to do certain things. We could certainly adopt that policy ourselves, but it doesn't mean that it's binding upon WSBA. And I think that WSBA is getting that message, as I've been saying it so often, that they get it. But what it really is, what we are controlled by, in which I always go back to, is General Rule 12.3. In General Rule 12.3 is the Supreme Court's directive to WSBA to, and I'll just paraphrase the operative terms, but clearly WSBA administers our board, whatever administers means, but that is the term used in 12.3. And it also makes sure that we are complying with the court order authorizing our existence. So that's something that WSBA is authorized to do. And also to make sure that we have the necessary resources. And again, I'm paraphrasing these terms, which includes staffing. Now, I will let you know that unbeknownst to me before I started serving in this role, and I'm sure, and I was a past chair of the ATJ board, but it was unknown also to the current president of WSBA, and it was unknown to me as a past WSBA president, that, and the only reason that we found this out is because Diana Singleton, who is the font of all knowledge regarding the ATJ board, she has the institutional memory, says, you know what, there's actually an MOU, a memorandum of understanding between WSBA and the ATJ board. That memorandum of understanding was actually executed in 2006. And like any MOU or any policy, once it gets to be a few years old, everyone forgets about it. I will say that it really doesn't say a whole lot that isn't really encapsulated within GR 12.3. Says that, you know what, you're going to staff the ATJ board. You're going to make sure there's enough funding, and we agree to that. It does say, you know, something that we have not been doing, that the ATJ board will have an opportunity in the annual evaluation of the ATJ manager, which is now the terms have changed, but that would be Diana's position, and any staff member, which of course is Bonnie's position. As far as I know, the ATJ board has never been asked to give any annual input as to how those two people are doing on the board as far as serving our needs on the board. But other than that, the MOU doesn't really say anything. So WSBA is taking a look at this, and where it really is operative is looking at, okay, what is 12.3? What are the parameters of 12.3? At our last meeting, which was actually just yesterday, there were 2 basic views. One view being all of the WSBA's bylaws and policies apply to the boards, including the ATJ board. The other viewpoint, which I espoused on behalf of the ATJ board, was that no, that shouldn't be the case, because the bylaws are going to have a bunch of stuff in there that's inapplicable to the ATJ board. Who knows what policies exist? And again, I know that once an institution develops policies, after a few years, those policies are forgotten unless someone happens to dig them up. And I think that view, at least for now, is the view that's being adopted by our task force, because what WSBA is going to do at our next meeting is actually go through the bylaws and say, well, look at, these are the things that really should apply to the boards. And I agree, there are certain things that should be applying to the board. So one thing is 12.4, which explicitly says the Public Records Act as encapsulated within that rule, which our court has done, applies to our board. So that's in effect an easy one. And let me just tell you, I guess, a few things where there may be some conflict, and you know, there's been conflict in the past. I don't see any conflict right now, but I think that's one reason that the executive director of WSBA is taking a proactive stance and saying, let's look at this thing to address future potential future problems. But let me just point out a few things that I think if WSBA wanted to, and where we had a little bit of disagreement before in the past, is one, we have working sessions where we close those off to other people. We put a little sign on the door, do not come in. And you know, WSBA before, and I remember that, and I think it put Diana in a bad spot because they, the past ED told Diana, take that sign off. You can't have that sign on. And Jeff Vermillion said, no, we're putting that sign up. And it puts the staff in a particularly awkward position because they now are in a conflict position. But you know, that's one area. We don't keep minutes of our working session, which, you know, maybe we should be looking at this, or maybe not. I don't know, you know, whether that's our decision or whether that's WSBA's decision, or whether that's controlled by 12.4. We take legislative positions at times that may be adverse to what WSBA would want us to take. You know, one thing that I wondered about, and now that I'm serving on this task force, we come up with our recommendations, who should be serving on the ATJ board, but that is, we give those to the WSBA Board of Governors, who then makes a decision, a recommendation to the state Supreme Court. And I don't know whether in fact we should be doing that. You know, and again, I don't see any court rules saying we should, and unless someone tells me otherwise, I'm gonna be take a look at that, whether our recommendations should be going directly to the state Supreme Court and not by the Board of Governors. So that I only have 10 minutes and it may have already gone over. I'm sorry, Francis. Gives you an overview, but I do think it's important for the board to realize that this is going on and about these potential conflicts that we have with Washington State Bar Association.
Thank you, Sal. Any discussion, any question for Sal? Yes, SP.
Sal, I would imagine you're pretty good at this, at looking at kind of the unintended consequences down the road for any decisions that get made around this particular issue. You know, it's something that might sound good now. How could it impact the work of the ATJ board down the road? Have you thought about it? Have you had any examples of that come up for you as you're doing your analysis of the conversations that have taken place so far?
I wish I was smart enough that say I could know unintentional consequences.
Well, no, just, you know, you can, anyway.
Yeah, here's a couple of things keep in mind. One, this is a WSBA policy. So even though WSBA may change its policy, doesn't necessarily bind the ATJ board. We are bound by what the state Supreme Court rules say we are bound by. We may have a disagreement with the WSBA as to the interpretation of those rules. That's one thing. Two, funding. You know, at least during my time on the board, I think WSBA and our board has not had a disagreement regarding adequate funding so we can do our work. But I know that in the past that has been an issue, and whether that could be an issue in the future, sure, that could be an issue in the future. You know, depending on what WSBA's financial situation is. Yeah, so yes, I am trying to keep my eye out for that. Believe me, I'm trying to protect our board as much as I can, Esperanza. If you can think of anything, you know, it doesn't have to be today. If you think, oh man, Sal, you know, keep your mind on that. Just shoot me an email. I would really.
Okay. Okay, I will. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We're going to move to liaison reports. Let's start with George Keenan because he had to leave. Maybe he already left. I think he already left. Okay, Terry.
Good morning, everyone. So Terry Price, and I am the liaison for the Judicial Information Systems Committee and the Superior Court COOG, Court User Work Group. So the COOG has spent, these are a lot of the clerks, have spent a lot of time over the last several months, essentially problem solving, computer operations about how certain things are coded, and when they're coded in the old system Odyssey and then they're updated how they were coded in SCOMIS and then updated to Odyssey, these become very important matters, as you can understand, because they don't want duplicate records. We want to be able to show to have the internal database be correct, and also to be able to do caseload reports. Right now, it's an interesting situation in Washington that caseload reports are complicated or inaccurate because King County has not reported some caseload reports in a couple of years. That's a separate issue. So that's what the COOG mostly works on. The JISC, the Judicial Information Systems Committee, spent a considerable amount of time talking about an issue that is near and dear to our hearts here, and that is the $5 per packet charge or per envelope filing fee that is going to be passed on to users because of, and that's district and municipal courts of limited jurisdiction users to file documents in the new updated system from Tyler Technologies. And it assumes that people have the $5. It assumes that they have a credit card that they can e-file with. There's a lot of kind of middle class assumptions built in. There's a number of voices on the JISC that have no difficulty passing along the $5 per envelope. So it could be multiple documents, but it would be one-time filing episode. Have no problem passing those costs on to users. And feel that there are adequate safeguards for people who get indigency waivers or are represented by qualified legal service provider groups. There's many people who have felt like this is going to be unfairly borne on people who can least afford it. They are contemplating going back and asking the legislature for $2.5 million to cover all of these filing fees. For next year, they are unpersuaded the legislature will give that money, in which case they probably will reinstitute, or they will probably institute these fees next year. So it is it's on hold, but it's likely going to resurface.
Thank you, Terry. Judge Marcin Anderson, you have any contribution to that, to that liaison report? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank
Okay.
you very much for calling me out, but I do not have anything to add. But thank you. It's nice to see everybody.
Thank you, Judge Anderson. All right, Judge Corbett, any liaison report?
Nothing that I'm going to report today, but I think I see Jim Benberger on the line, and maybe at some point I would like Jim to find a time for you and I to talk to make sure that I do report what OCLA finds to be important. But today I have nothing additional to say.
Thank you. Jim, you and I and Jim would have to go to a restaurant in Spokane to have a discussion. Let's bring Jim down. I love having Jim come to Spokane. All right. SP, any liaison reports?
No, I represent the board on the Minority and Justice Commission and the Board of Judicial Administration, and the MGA did not meet over the summer. The next meeting is going to be October 1st, and the BGA met in July, but unfortunately I was unable to attend due to a family emergency. And we meet this month on the 27th of September. So I believe it's the 27th of September. Or the 20th. Anyway, we meet this month. And
Thank
so
you.
I will have something for the next time, our
Thank-
next board meeting.
Thank you. Lindy?
Nope, no report for me. Thanks, Francis.
Thank you. All right. The Interpreters Commission is doing a lot of review on the GR work, and we are not there yet. I should be able to report next month, and there's a lot of work that is being done by Interpreters Commission on so many other issues that I should give a full report next month. And we are also meeting, I believe, if not next week, then the week after. All right. Thank you, board members, for all the liaison reports. I don't see Kirsten. Is Kirsten here now, Bonnie? Do you see Kirsten? Okay.
No.
And they did inform you, but Will is on vacation or leave. They did say they don't have a lot to report on. Right?
I don't think they have a report for this month.
All right. So we will, now that Jim is here, Jim, do you want to start out for us?
Sure. I'm not precisely sure what was expected of me, but I can give you a couple of quick updates. The Right to Counsel program in Washington State is pretty well put into place, and we will advise courts beginning effective October 1st that they may appoint counsel in eviction cases, which means that they can hear eviction cases involving indigent defendants or indigent tenants. The legislature had funded us at about $23.5 million for the biennium. That was based on estimates that we submitted during the legislative session. We are going to be over budget. We are already obligated over budget, and we've advised the legislature that we're going to go back to them for a supplemental budget increase. It's about a 5% deviation from what we had projected, so we're pretty pleased with that. We are continuing to proceed with our effort to engage stakeholders and others in and outside the legal aid community on the question of what are the next, what changes we might make to the allocation of state appropriated COVID dollars over the course of the next 18 months and then beyond. We have a meeting scheduled for 1 to 3 on Tuesday, the 14th, to continue that conversation. We met on July 20th, and we'll continue to follow up on that. Other than that, I don't have any funding issues to report on. I do want to take the liberty, though, of, if he's still here, there he is. Introduce Philippe Nab. Philippe is most recently was managing attorney at NJP's Vancouver office. Before that, he was a tenant defense lawyer and wore other hats in New York City. Philippe is now the eviction defense program manager at the Office of Civil Legal Aid. Philippe, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks so much, everyone. Yeah, I'm really excited to be joining at such a really kind of landmark time for tenants' rights in Washington. You know, we were just on a call with stakeholders nationally about right to counsel. And what we're doing here is far outpaces everyone else with very few exceptions. And so we are super excited, and I am thrilled to be running point on the program, obviously taking Jim's lead. He's essentially stood up the program so far. So, you know, this next month or 2 months is going to be a real whirlwind, and we're really excited to see how it all plays out. But you know, I'm enthusiastic to work with you all for the legal aid community in Washington and for the access to justice, you know, to further access to justice. So nice to meet you all, and hopefully we will be collaborating in the future.
Thank you, Philip. I'm proud to say that Washington is a leader in access to justice in the nation, and to have you join this wonderful team is a joy. Welcome. Cesar is not here, and so I'm going to go to, I don't know if Melinda is here. Bonnie, can you help me?
Natalia will be giving that update.
Natalia, yes, I saw Natalia. Natalia, could you provide the campaign for equal justice report, if there are any?
Yes, hi, thanks, Francis. And I see Caitlin is just hopping on as well. Caitlin, would you like to give the LFW update? And then I can go after.
I just need it. So Natalia, you go first.
Okay. Hi, everyone. For those that don't know me, or I don't know you yet, I'm Natalia Fiora, the annual campaign director at Legal Foundation of Washington. And brief update for you today. Our Gold Mark Luncheon is going to be virtual again this year. So we're forging ahead. Please save the date of February 11th, 2022. And the law firm campaign kicks off next week for King and Pierce counties. We're also going to be piloting a Snohomish County law firm campaign this year. So that's exciting. We have a handful of board members up there, Dean Miner, Kathleen Kyle, and Ann Bryce, who are helping us. Rainier Cup is in full swing, and we've got lots of counties, at least 10 counties this year, who are getting organized and are trying to win that cup. So that's exciting. We've organized a Rainier Cup committee, actually, with leaders from about 10 or 12 counties across the state that meet monthly just to give each other updates and share ideas and resources around how to keep raising funds for civil legal aid. The Associates campaign is one of our favorites here at the campaign. That kicks off in October. It'll be in its third year, and we are up to 12 firms with Dorsey, McKinley Irvin, and Fal Cochran Vertitas Amala joining us for the first time this year. And we have several virtual events happening. I'm going to drop a link in the chat for you. If you would like to sign up for any of our events, they're all virtual, so you can attend them all, theoretically, if you're available. We've got Yakima Beer and Justice happening in a couple weeks with Judge Elizabeth Tooch as our speaker. Spokane Beer and Justice is October 7th with the wonderful and fabulous Francis Adewale as our featured speaker, so you don't want to miss that. And then Olympia Beer and Justice is October 20th with our wonderful AG, Bob Ferguson, who will be speaking at that event. So there are registration links in the page that I sent in the chat, so you can go ahead and sign up. If you are one of the first 50 people to register for each event, you will receive a I Heart Justice pint glass in the mail. So that's a little added perk. They're pretty fun. And I believe, let me check my notes. That concludes my update for you all. So thank you all for everything you do for access to justice. And you know, many of you are donors already and your firms support the cause. So thanks again for all of your help.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Natalia. Caitlin?
Good morning. Thank you, Francis. Hello, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful summer. I don't mean to make it quite sound in the past tense. As I look out my window here, it is feels a little fall. A busy time at the Legal Foundation grants, which are the application year is a little different because for the first time, as we've previously discussed, we're making 2-year grants. So an extended commitment to our alliance partners who have have received funding from Legal Foundation in the past. So we'll keep you updated as that process rolls out, how it goes. The other important news is that our third year of race equity grant making is now complete. Our community panel met earlier this week and is making recommendations for grants for partners to our LFW board later this month. So we're really excited about that. Those are the two big updates from LFW, other than what Natalia has shared. And if you that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Caitlin. I believe we can, I don't see Cesar. Do you have anything from Cesar? Bonnie?
No, he might not be able to make it.
Yeah, and I think that we will get a fuller report next month. The Congress is still trying to come together on so many issues. Now we go to the ATJ conference recap and feedback. My good friend Vanessa Hernandez is going to be presenting on this, and I'm so grateful. I just want to say a big thank you to Vanessa and Junior for their leadership of the ATJ conference. I owe them a debt of gratitude. Vanessa, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. So I'm really happy to be joining all of you for just a couple of minutes to reflect on the ATJ conference. And I also echo Sal's gratitude to my co-chair, Junior Cuevas, who couldn't join us today, and to Bonnie Sturkin and Diana Singleton, especially for their work in pulling off the logistics of the conference. You know, when the planning committee first met now just about a year ago to plan for this year's conference, the COVID-19 crisis was already in full swing. And we recognized that the combination of that and the national reckoning with systemic racism really called on us to do a conference that was focused on disruption and really focused on disrupting the status quo with respect to particularly the legal community's engagement with community activists and movement leaders. So we really set out to build a conference that was centered on community, that used the conference as a way to provide a platform to the communities who are most impacted by structural oppression and who most rely on access to the justice system as a mechanism to address that oppression. And with the support of the Legal Foundation, OCLA, and many other generous sponsors, and our absolutely fantastic fundraising crew, we were able really to put that conference together. A few things I want to highlight. More than half of our presentations at the conference were offered by community leaders, by non-lawyers. We had, and Bonnie can correct me on the numbers, but I believe ultimately over 700 registrants, the majority of whom were from the non-legal community, and really high attendance throughout the entire conference. I personally have about 5 pages of wisdom bombs that were dropped during the conference in notes, which I'm happy to share with other folks. But we really heard loud and clear from the communities most impacted by the justice system that they want us to focus on structural racism, to work in partnership with community organizations. I think one of our presenters said very clearly, recognize your lane and value ours. And I personally was incredibly inspired by the conference, by the presenters, by the questions that people asked. And I think it sets a really great foundation for what I hope will be the transformative work ahead. So that's my kind of quick summary. I don't know if folks have any questions or if there's anything in particular you want me to cover. Okay.
Any question for Vanessa? Thank you, Vanessa. Everyone is saying thank you. Okay, Diana.
Oh, I was just going to say a verbal thank you to Vanessa, because this was like no conference before for all the different things that Vanessa just outlined, but it was really transformational. And to be able to have that impact virtually, I think says a lot to the content. And Vanessa and Junior were just phenomenal co-chairs that there's not enough ways to thank you, Vanessa and Junior. So I just wanted to express my gratitude.
Thanks, Diana.
Thank you, Diana. I'm just going to read one note from one attendee. This conference is phenomenal. Congratulations. I've never been in this environment before. This makes me value the community. This is so rich. And I've got tons of text and emails and from every corner of the state. Because one of the intentional work that Vanessa and Junior did is to expand the planning committee of the conference to virtually every county in our state is represented in the planning committee, and input came from everywhere. So thank you for all your work. The conference is a success because there were people that were willing to sacrifice a lot to make it a success. Thank you so much, Vanessa. We appreciate you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Now, any other updates and announcements? Disco meeting. Okay, Nicholas Larson. Yes,
yeah,
go ahead.
Hey, just a quick update. This is Nick Larson, co-chair of the Pro Bono and Public Service Committee for WSBA. Great to see everyone. We just wrapped up a year-long strategic planning effort, and we have updated our mission statement, our vision statement, our values. We're going to be approving them this month and sharing them on the WSBA website, as well as we can share them with the ATJ board and all other groups across the state. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up that that's coming and that we have new members joining us in October, and we're continuing to work and continuing to appreciate everything the ATJ board does. We use the ATJ board's mission and Diana's help in this in guiding us in terms of coming to these strategic planning decisions. So thanks for letting me give that update.
Thank you, Nicholas. Anyone else? I just want to announce that usually the disco meeting is first Tuesday of every month, but because of Labor Day weekend, this month meeting is going to be on September 14th. That is next week. It's going to be September 14th. Technology Committee is third Tuesday of every month. This month meeting will be on the 19th. The Rules Committee is third Tuesday of every other month, and the next meeting is September 21st. Our next ATJ board meeting is on October 8th, 2021. Thank you, everyone. Any other announcements before I go? Board members, anything else that you want the public to know? All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month. All right. Bye.